Thank you, and welcome everybody to BlastOne Innovation Hub, our first Q&A, and quite excited to be here with Tim Jones from RPB. Tim is the Global Market Development Manager at RPB, and really good to have our first kickoff with RPB, a long-term partner of BlastOne's, I believe, 30 years plus. Today we'll talk about a few things in innovation. We'll also ask Tim some questions in terms of what's happening in our industry. And at the end, we will also go through a number of questions that have been pre-submitted by our customers. So Tim, welcome.
Mazza, great to be here.
Good stuff. So just briefly give us a couple of minutes on what your role is at RPB and what you're seeing currently in the industry.
Certainly. Well, my role at RPB, so I'm the Global Market Development Manager. So with what I do, I'm responsible for setting up the international distributor network for RPB Safety. So that's not just the blasting range, but also we've got a range of other products and industries as well when it comes to industrial, with welding, healthcare, obviously being a topical one nowadays as well. So a lot to do, but I've been in the role for 6.5 years now. Working for RPB. I've been based in our United Kingdom office for the past 3.5 years, and previous to that I was in our Christchurch offices in New Zealand, and previous to that I worked with RPB, but they were a client of mine, so I used to do assist with their marketing from an advertising perspective. So yeah, it's been almost 10 years now, and it doesn't feel like 10 years, but I guess time flies when you're enjoying yourself.
Yeah, it sounds like you've had some quite varied roles as well. So great. And again, thanks for joining us early in the morning in the UK. Tell us a little bit about what's happening, obviously, in the PPE industry right now. There is high demand and quite a different environment, I suspect. Can you just give us a bit of an update on what is happening in the industry in general and anything specific to the blast and paint industry?
Certainly. I mean, without going into too much on the COVID side of things, I think obviously people they hear that every single day. So, I mean, yes, there's been a lot of incredibly high demand on the PPE side of things, in particular, obviously things that are associated with healthcare. So as that relates to RPB, for our blasting range, we haven't had any negative impact from a COVID perspective. However, we do have other ranges of products that can cross over to healthcare, which there have been, I guess, hurdles, for better word of saying. But generally speaking, with how we have set up our business, we've been very lucky. We haven't been reliant on external countries. We have found a lot of manufacturers have bought in for instance, they have components coming in from Asia or from Germany. And we did find with COVID that a lot of the countries kind of looked after themselves first and foremost and stopped people from obviously exporting product out of their own countries, which that did cause all sorts of issues, certainly across Europe. But from a blasting perspective, we've been very lucky. It's been business as usual. We've managed to continue with the increase in demand. And so we've been in a very good place, which we're very thankful for.
Excellent. It's really good to hear. So closer to home in terms of blast and paint, we've been advised, and we're looking at industry standards across Australia, New Zealand, and even wider Asia Pacific. Really, to be mindful of sharing PPE equipment. Can you elaborate a little bit more on that one?
Yes. Well, the first thing is with the PPE equipment, it's the nature of our product. So if you take a blast helmet, for instance, it's a very personal item. It's on your head. You're obviously breathing into a very tight, confined space. You've got things touching your face, where it's side padding. You could be perspiring into that side padding as well. So it's a type of system where, certainly again with COVID, if you have someone wearing that, the person on the next shift, if they have to wear that same product, they're probably not going to be too happy to do that, because that's the perfect way of spreading germs. What we've found, so my experience, I guess, from the UK side of things, they're very good when it comes to risk assessment. And they have always had the rules, basically, when you're issued a respirator, that respirator, or the head top itself, is your personal head top. So you look after that, no one else would wear that. In other countries, I know, so Netherlands, for instance, some of the larger users of these types of products, not for blasting, but this is more for just a general respiratory products, the size of their workforce means it's not conducive to share respirators. But if that's the case, they have had to adopt a system which ensures that they can guarantee that that head top is perfectly clean between shifts. Obviously, that adds an extra layer of processing. So sometimes it's just easier to purchase a head top per person. So to give a very brief insight into what they would do, after every shift, the worker would hand the unit back to a dedicated, I guess, cleaning team. They would strip the whole thing down. They would put the padding into a washing machine at 40 or 50 degrees, do a proper full wash on it. Then they would clean out the entire helmet with disinfectant, hang it up, and then reassemble it for the next user or the next shift. So of course, there's two ways about it. Obviously, it does add an additional layer of work into it. But the key thing is, especially now with the nature of respiratory protection, people are aware, or a lot more aware of respiratory protection now. And having a workforce that is happy and confident that what they're wearing is protecting them is worth its weight in gold. The last thing the most important asset to your company is your employees, because without them, you're not really a company. So making sure that they are happy and safe in their role is paramount.
Spot on. And by the sounds of it, looks like our industry is faring better than some others because this long-standing practice of actually having proper PPE equipment, particularly here in New Zealand.
Correct.
Moving on a little bit on obviously on innovation. So anything that you could share with us at the moment in terms of what's happening at RPB and anything again that would be of interest to the glass and paint industry?
Certainly. So this is going to be a bit of a cop-out answer, or me being a politician. There is a lot of innovation coming. We've got a full team of engineers working in our New Zealand offices. So that's where we do all of our engineering work worldwide. And they've been very busy, certainly over the past 18 months, but in the past 6 months in particular, there's been almost 20 hours a day we've had people working on projects. A lot of them which are actually due now to launch within the following month to 6 months, depending on what the product is. I can't give away too much more than that at this point in time, but watch this space. But in terms of the blast and paint industry, probably the core or the new product which will be coming out will be specifically targeted around the metallization side of the business. Again, this is a product which we've had a lot of talks with across Australia and New Zealand over the past couple of years. And BlastOne reps basically said, this is a niche in the market where there is currently a manufacturer that's not supplying it. Can you help us out and create a product for our customers? And we've been very busy with that. And the product will be available very, very shortly. We're looking forward to sharing that with everyone.
It's fantastic. And shortly, you mean sometime in 2020?
Put it this way, it's already been tooled up.
Okay.
So all the investment from our perspective is done, so it's ready to build. It's just a matter of crossing the T's and dotting the I's from a certification point of view, but also making sure that it's all ready to supply, obviously, via the BlastOne channel.
Fantastic. Well, really looking forward to that one. Now to the ever important question. So before this, we went out and we were talking to you, and we went to our customers, got a really broad range of questions. Some of the main ones we picked out here, obviously mindful of time. So I'll just go through them as they were selected. The first one is around climate control. So the question is there a climate control that can be used like a vest? At the moment, we use a set of R-Blast helmets and run the cool tube inside our coveralls.
The answer is yes, there is a product on the market. It's not an RPB product. So it's so obviously our core focus is on manufacturing the world's best respirators. So that's where our specialty lies. There are companies out there that manufacture a cooling vest. So where that applies to RPB, our cool tube or our C40 can plug into that vest to provide the cooling. So I can find out who we recommend for that vest, but there are companies out there already that can manufacture that.
Okay, but so it is compatible. You have product that is compatible with those vests.
Correct. So the way they work is obviously it's a compressed air line onto the vest. So the same way you'd have it onto your helmet. So where we can assist, obviously, with our C40 climate control device, we've got the highest cooling capability for that type of device. So that pairs perfectly, and the ability that you can actually control the temperature, warm it up or cool it down depending on personal preference.
Awesome. Next question. It's a bit of, I guess, a competitive question. So Sunstrom offers a glass visor as it is way easier to keep both clean and scratch free. When are you bringing in a option?
It's a question I've had a lot. So where they'll be referring to will be obviously the Sunstrom, so that the tight fitting full face mask, which is glass, and obviously people use their thinners to keep that clean. For RPB, our core focus on loose fitting respirators, so respirators that don't need face fit testing. So therefore, our direct competitor to that Sunstrom would be a Z-Link helmet, for instance. However, with the Z-Link, we can't put glass on it because the Z-Link also has to be certified to high velocity impact testing, and that automatically rules out glass for safety issues. So the short answer is no, we will not be bringing out a glass tight fitting respirator. Our belief is in loose fitting and not having to have face fit testing, and anyone with facial hair or a full beard can wear that product safely for long periods of time.
Good. That clarified. Next question. Are RPB having any production issues due to coronavirus? Any delays in products? Any new product launches now being delayed? I think you answered some of that earlier, but it'd be good to cover that again.
From a blasting perspective, absolutely no issues at all. As status quo, can still ship and maintain supply channels for the blasting equipment. Where we've had a slight roadblock is in our product that can be used within the medical. So that is our PX4 PAPR, or products that can be used for COVID. There has been an export ban on those products put on by the United States, obviously to look after their domestic market. That's the same as UK, Germany, France, China. They all have done exactly the same thing for homegrown manufactured product. So we have had, on the powered air side of things, some obstacles. Has it affected new product launches and them being delayed? It's actually had the opposite effect. So where we had product launches that were due for launch in 2021, those have now been brought forward by about 6 to 8 months. Wow. Which has been absolutely fantastic. And the reasoning behind that is these are products, again, that can cross over into medical. And due to that, one of the biggest holdups or the longest period of time of developing these new products is the certification side of things and getting them through testing houses. Those testing houses, and certainly as an example, in the United States, there's a government-owned facility. They have done everything they can to try and get products for COVID basically pushed through faster, so jump in to the top of the pile to make sure that those products can be ready and manufactured for market for the coming 12 to 18 months. So from that perspective, we've actually really ramped up our production.
Fantastic. So you're saying some of the development then is actually being brought forward. Great to hear. Any new safety accessories being introduced?
Yes, and they'll be communicated over the coming months.
Okay, that's put it in the political part of the Q&A. Good. Are all of your helmets hoods with hard cell and padding tested for hearing and hardness protection?
Yes, they are. So they're all tested for hardness protection. We also go one step further, certainly on our Premier products, and go to the actual hard hat certification. So as an example, from the blasting perspective, the Nova 3 has been tested and certified for hard hat protection. For hearing protection, again, as part of the standards, they're all tested. And for the hearing protection side of things, for the blasting, gone into the Nova 3, but also the T-Link and the Z-Link head tops. Yes, is the answer.
Okay, excellent. Next question is, what does the AS1715/16 standard apply to for Nova helmet? What does it mean for PPE?
Certainly. So to keep it super simple like this, you can go into all sorts of in-depth on this answer. So the ASNZS 1715 is the breathing air standard for Australia and New Zealand. So that in itself doesn't apply to the head top or the Nova helmet. That is the quality of the breathing air that is supplied to the respirator. So that's talking about obviously the oxygen makeup of that air, the amount of permissible carbon monoxide that could be present, no smells, no odors, and no particulates. So that's the breathing air. For the ASNZS 1716, that is the standard in Australia for respiratory protection. So again, that covers anything to do with respirators, so dust masks, powered air, supplied air like a blast helmet or within a paint booth, but also SCBA, so your oxygen tank on your back. So what does it mean? So for the Nova helmet, we've got our products certified to those, or to the AES NZS 1716. So it's a certified respiratory protective device within Australasia. That's the simplest way of answering it.
Excellent. Next question is, does the blast suit have a life range or use by date?
No, it doesn't. So the key thing with the blast suit, this all comes down to best practice of the company themselves. So when you're wearing PPE, you should have a process in place where you're inspecting that PPE to make sure it's fit for purpose for the person who is going to be wearing it within the company. So as an example, when you look at a blast suit, if you start to see you've got tears, or it's to the point where tears is probably the easiest, simplest way of saying it. At that point in time, this is not appropriate. This is not providing the full protection it should. I should then get a new one. But there's no date or recommended, because every situation is different. You could have someone wear that suit for years because just the nature of their environment. Flip side of that, you could have someone who's doing heavy steel shot or steel grit in a very close quarters environment, and naturally they're going to be a lot harder on their gear, so it would need to be replaced more frequently.
The recommendation is regular checks.
Correct.
Good. Next question is, when do you have to retire the Nova helmet, and how do you tell if it has exceeded its life range?
This is, I guess, same as the blast suit. So you should have processes in place where you are regularly checking the PPE. So obviously looking over it. So for instance, so it comes down to different countries as well. So this is, as the Nova helmet requires, so you've got obviously the hard hat certification. Different countries have different requirements for the lifespan of a hard hat. It could be 2 years, it could be 5 years. So the first thing is looking at what your country's requirement is from a hard hat perspective. If you don't need to have the hard hat, certification on the Nova helmet, just for the nature of where you're doing your work, there is a date of manufacture, actually within the Nova helmet itself. So we'll give a month and a year, so you can tell how old that helmet is. But like I said, the key thing is visually checking over your helmet on a regular basis. So whether that be once a week, inspecting to make sure it's got a proper seal on it. I've seen all sorts of horror stories over the past 6 years where I've gone into companies and they're using a Nova 2000 helmet, but they don't have a cape cover band on, for instance. And so you've got all the big gaps in there, or they're not using the lens system properly. So the main thing is internal processes, making sure that product is fit for purpose for the employee, because ultimately the employer has to provide the correct kit legally for their employee.
Good, thank you for that one. How do you stop dust getting between the Nova outer and inner lenses?
Certainly. So I think when we say the Nova, obviously we've got 3 different Nova helmets. So there's potentially 3 different answers here. For the Nova, I'll focus on the Nova 2000 and the Nova 3, because within Australia, they're the 2, I guess, main products that are used. For the Nova 2000, we have seen the majority of issues have been where people have not been using all 3 lenses. So obviously you've got the inner lens, which provides the impact protection. You've got the outer lens, and then you've got the tear-off lenses on the outside. The biggest issues we have seen with dust getting in between is where the person has decided not to use the outer lens.
Right.
And so the idea of the outer lens is it keeps keeps more rigidity to the tear-off lens, so it pushes them harder together and to help keep a seal. It also protects the inner lens once you've gone through your final tear-off. But yeah, we've seen a lot of people that decide, oh, you know, we're using tear-offs, we'll disregard the outer lens, and that's obviously made more gaps where dust can get through. For the Nova 3, we have got the cassette lens, which we have developed over the past year. The idea of that is it's 5 tear-off lenses and an outer lens that have been welded together around the outside. So what that does, that makes it impossible for dust to get in between tear-off lenses because there's a physical seal around them. And then each time you peel it off, obviously then you can utilize that lens properly. If you go into our YouTube channel, we have got some specific videos on that, talking through what the lens does. Further to stopping dust, so that obviously means better vision. It also is, you're utilizing every single lens perfectly as well. So it reduces the actual amount of lenses that you use, and it's also a lot easier to use as well. So there's a time saving there. We are also looking, obviously, we're constantly wanting to improve these products. So we are putting some time into, you know, how can we improve? If someone's not using the cassette lens, how can we improve the older style system to make it better?
Fantastic. So follow the instructions. Next question. What is the hearing protection range on the T100 and the T150 spray hood, and are there tear-off lenses available?
So I'll answer the easy one first. Tear-off lenses available? Yes, there is. What is the hearing protection range on the T100 and T150? There is none on those two products. So the T150 is a product which we are no longer pushing into, we're no longer doing within our company. So I talked about earlier with obviously no tight-fitting respirators. So our focus is on loose-fitting. The T100 has been superseded by the T-Link respirator. So the T-Link is an upgraded product, a better version of the T100, where the hearing protection can work in with that product. We actually have certified ear defenders, or earmuffs, which actually clip into the T-Link underneath the hood. So if someone does require hearing protection while they're spraying or they're coating, they can actually clip in ear defenders into that product.
Fantastic. Okay, T-Link. Is the T100 hood fire retardant?
No. So the T100 hood is a Tyvek cover, so that is not fire retardant. So if you got sparks on that, obviously they'll just burn straight through. If you're doing anything where you're doing hot works or need fire retardant, our recommendation would be our Z-Link helmet with our fire resistant cape. So we've got two options. One is a shoulder cape, which comes down to about here, or we've got one that's a shorter cape as well. So those would be the recommendations if you're doing anything where you've got sparks or flame present.
Fantastic. And we are on to our last question out of the group, and really appreciate your great answer so far. Last one is, can you immerse the C40 air cooler in water to wash it?
Technically, yes, you can. If you are to do that, the main bit of advice would be make sure that you've dried the insides before you connect it back to your respirator.
Okay.
So if you put it in water, you've got to get moisture on the inside. You want to plug that onto your compressed air line to blow out that water before you have actually connected your breathing tube back to your respirator. Otherwise, you're just going to get water all through your head top.
Okay. And sounds like, so your point, technically, would you recommend not to do it, or?
Again, I guess it comes back to, we haven't done it before.
Yep.
Like you can, generally what we would say for recommendation is obviously you can take the top off and take out the brass silencers, but we'd just say get disinfectant wipes and just wipe it down that way would generally be what we would say. But in saying that, we've found a lot of our customers are very ingenious, and they've come up with a lot of smart things in the past, which we may not have even thought of. So we always take a bit of a lead sometimes from our customers and the feedback they give us, because at the end of the day, they're the ones day in day out using these products. So if it works, happy days, good on them.
Fantastic. Well, Tim, that is in terms of the questions and the first Q&A. Really appreciate you being here. I think you had a trip scheduled here in 2 weeks' time initially. It was the week.
Correct. Correct. Yep.
Week.
Yep. I should have been in New Zealand and Australia, but yeah, I'm managing my wife's expectations and hopefully get back for Christmas now.
Good. Well, look, great to hear from you, and I'm sure a lot of our customers are going to appreciate getting the word directly from you. We'll wrap it up here. Thank you again, Tim, and stay safe. Hopefully things are looking better over in the UK as well.
I appreciate it, Mirza. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Tim.